up, everybody? This is Jedd Johnson from DieselCrew.com. They call me Napalm. And I'm joined by Alan Heineck. And today we're going to be talking with none other than Clay Edgin in just a few minutes here on episode 53 of This Week in Grap. Ricardo is busy with his family today watching some soccer. I know he wanted to be on so bad today with his buddy Clay, but family first as always. And if Alan sounds a little bit different today, because he's on speakerphone, because in the process of his recovery, his sling off, it's actually been quite painful for him to hold the phone. So, Alan, thank you for the dedication to the show and being on with us today, my man.
Yeah, it's good to be back on. I had missed last week, more of a little confusion on my end than anything. I apologize for that, but I'm glad to be back on now.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, for sure.
Sounds like we're being joined by our co-host.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon on my end, but good morning to you, brother.
Yeah. How's it going out there?
Cool.
How's the episode so far? You guys talk about some really cool things?
We just got started, brother. You haven't missed anything. We do have a couple things we want to cover, and then we're going to get right into your rundown of the competition that you attended. Does that sound good, buddy?
Yeah, totally. Happy to listen in and get a first peek at the episode.
All right, sweet. So, Alan, why don't you bring us up to date on what you've been dealing with your recovery, dude?
Okay. Well, so back in 2nd of April, I had my rotator cuff surgery. So for the last 6 weeks, I've been in this sling kind of keeping me immobilized. And just this past week, I finally graduated out of the sling. And so my therapy has ramped up and the pain right along with it. I've got all the tightnesses that have gone along with being immobilized in conjunction with muscle atrophy and things like that. So I'm trying to regain some range of motion, predominantly with a little bit of strength, and it has been challenging. Just the act of literally having my arm down at my side is rather excruciating right now. So I would almost put the pain up there with right after what it was after surgery. So it's been a longer road than I was expecting. So it'll be October at the earliest, as it sounds now, before I'm back to normal. But very little range of motion, a lot of weakness, and then a ton of pain. So. And the stretches are absolutely, they are just excruciating that I have to do, but it's part of the process, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
But we'll
Good luck
get
with that,
there.
man.
Yeah.
Jeepers. Well, aside from that, Alan, anything else cool to report as far as on your part of the country and what you've been up to? Any good news for us?
I've got a little bit of Ironman news I did want to bring up. That's more or less from abroad, actually, but nonetheless, some interesting Ironman news. So we've got a couple of new captains of Crush out there. One is a 15-year-old from Korea. His name, and I will spell this after I probably butcher it. I would go with Yumin Lee. That is GYU-MIN Lee. Young man from Korea, certified the COC3. And then we have a fellow from Sweden. I would go with Bohan Pejic. Martin Araldson was actually his the guy that he was the ref for that cert, but he served the 3 and the 3.5 in the same day, which you don't hear of very often. So his picture's up on the Ironmind website, as is the other fellow from Korea. But very impressive. I would have leaned towards the 15-year-old for feet of the week. I'm probably still heading that way, but then again, to cert the 3 and the 3.5 in the same day, that's pretty awesome. You know, the last time I heard of a guy trying that, it was our very own Morgan Choi, Mass Monster 8, went after it, and he hit the 3, just about got the 3.5, didn't quite get there. But then, of course, he went and turned around and lifted the inch dumbbell right after that. So, yeah. Yeah, so a couple of real impressive feats, and I just wanted to mention just a couple other. We've got a couple contests coming up. Oregon Strongest Hands coming up May 26th, and then of course we've got NAGS on June 2nd.
That's right.
So
lots of good stuff going on. Lots of good stuff. That's incredible about the 15-year-old kid that's certified on the number 3. I think back to myself, and there's absolutely no way that I would have had anywhere near the strength to close a number 3 gripper when I was 15. I was nothing but a 6-foot-tall bag of turds when I was 15. So I don't know about you guys, but no way.
When I was 15, we were using those plastic grippers you bought at like Walmart for $1.50.
Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't even, who would have touched that, I mean, that's just monstrous. So this dude, he's a beast. That's just insane. You don't hear that. I don't know if that's the youngest or not. I mean, you just don't hear that.
Right.
So
right.
Good for him.
What about you?
Sky's the limit at that age.
What about you, Clay? You think you would have had like anywhere near the natural just strength to Cert 3 if you were handed a gripper and shown how to do it and put in some work for a while?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think growing up, like playing on the monkey bars and stuff and being a big kid, that probably helped a little bit. But I don't think that I could just. No, I don't think so, man. It took me. I was doing metal work kind of on the side for a better part of a year or so before I ever got my hands on some grippers, and then I could do the 2 right away, but it was still a little ways longer before I got the 3.
Yeah. Very similar for me too. So, well, that's great. That's awesome news. And then, so I saw there was some discussion on the grip board about the guy that certified both grippers on the same day, Alan, but I didn't follow the thread at all. Did he first do the 3 and then the 3.5, or did he do it in the opposite way?
I'm trying to, let me get over to that thread right now. I actually didn't see I didn't catch that discussion. I only went off of what was on Iron Mind's site here. Let me get back over here and take a quick peek. But it was my take that he did the 3 first, then the 3.5.
And that may be standard. That may be what's required. I'm not sure, but I didn't know if maybe he said, well, I want to get that 3.5 out of the way so I know I can do it, and then I'll do the 3.5 after. I really don't know.
They don't get that specific, actually.
Okay.
They just say that he certed them, but I would imagine he would have I would have done that had I had the capability. I had gone 3, then 3.5. But, I don't see any other further discussion on that.
Cool. Well, congratulations to those gentlemen, and I don't know if they listen to This Week in Grip, but I hope they do, and good press for them all around, no matter what. So, like we said, it's been an awesome time here recently in the world of grip, stuff like this going down. Seems like there's been a contest after contest after contest recently. We had one at the end of April here in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia at the Oldhagen Strength Classic, and then on June 2nd here in actually New York, up in Elmira, New York, we've got the NAGS Championship, like Alan said. That's going to be at Titan Strength in Elmira, New York. And today we're going to be talking about the World Arm Lifting Championship with Clay. So really, really looking forward to that. We got the Oregon Strongest Hands coming up this coming weekend. So there's lots of stuff that we're going to be talking about. That's awesome. I just looked at the hashtags, Alan. Another steady jump. We're well over 100 new posts since our last show that we did. We were 1351 in episode 52, and we're up to 1467 on Instagram. So it continues to, the presence continues to grow. The word continues to get out there in front of more people. And after all, it's all about getting the word out. And the first rule of grip sport is Clay, do you know the first rule in grip sport, buddy?
The first rule of grip sport is that you always talk about grip sport.
That's right. Good job. All right. All right. So Clay, why don't you, just in case there's people that don't know who you are, maybe they're new to grip or new to the listening to This Week in Grip, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, your gym? I know your gym has grown tremendously, your strength career over the years. Let's hear it, big man.
All right. I've been doing grip sport and strongman and powerlifting since 2003. My first day in the gym when I first learned how to deadlift at age 23. I dropped the deadlift out of my grip, and I thought, man, I gotta fix this. I don't know what's going on, but I didn't know hands could be weak. I thought your hands were just strong, and whatever you wanted to pick up, you could pick up. So I started researching how to get my hands stronger, and found, Dinosaur Training by Brooks Kubik and all the old Matt Fury stuff, and reading John Wood stuff, and getting kind of deeper into like the Coney Island vaudeville performing strongman things while doing powerlifting and strongman and Highland games, and kind of doing like a regular 9-to-5 thing, but always kind of daydreaming about having my own space where I could train people to get a little bit stronger, and teach them these kind of niche things that I enjoyed so much. If there was anybody else out there who even gave a damn about these things. And about 5 years ago, I was managing nightclubs in Nashville, Tennessee at the time. Wish I would have known about Bill Goodman over there at the Southern Squeeze. We could have been BFFs for sure. But I was like working 100 hours a week, and those hours I wasn't working, I was drinking and just not sleeping any of those times, and doing those like 3 a.m. White Castle cheeseburger runs with the 10-pack. You know what I'm saying? It was just not treating myself well. I got really far away from the things that meant a lot to me. And I threw that all away, man. I gave away that nightclub lifestyle up, managing a club and making decent money, and flew back to California, where I'm from, and got back into the gym and got my head out of my butt, and got my NASM Certified Personal Training Certificate. Not that I think it taught me anything really new that 15 years under a bar didn't really teach me, but it at least gave me some kind of credibility to say, hey, I kind of know what I'm talking about. And from there, I started interning at this gym called Santa Cruz Strength in Santa Cruz, California, while I was living about 40 minutes away in Silicon Valley. I was working part-time as like a grocery store assistant manager, working the overnight shift, stocking shelves, and still that daydream about having this gym was burning hotter and hotter. And the older I got, the closer I got over 30, the more I realized that I don't have that many more years of being kind of physically primed for lifting the heaviest weights possible. And if I'm going to do this thing, if I want to lift the most weight possible and make the biggest impact, and kind of have, the energy to build myself into, I guess would be a good example of what strength training can do for you, then I have to do it now. And I was competing in this sport called Moss Wrestling that was like you guys may have heard of it, but if you've never heard of it, think of it like a seated tug-of-war with a stick, one-on-one. Both of you guys are sitting on your butts. You have your feet on this 2x10 board in front of you, and the winner is the guy who can pull the stick out of the other guy's hand or pull him up and over the board. And I'd got invited to compete in Norway around Christmas time. And so I put in for the time off work, and I bought the ticket and everything else, and the week came that I was supposed to leave, and I was still on the schedule for work. And my boss said, in not so many words, hey, you got to choose between, giving up this trip that you were going for, or, staying here and keeping your job. So, and I was married at the time, and, I have bills to pay like everybody else does, and living paycheck to paycheck is about as good as it gets for most of us. And I decided I wasn't going to get pushed around like that anymore. And I had picked up a couple clients while interning at Santa Cruz Strength. And there's a little bit of money coming in, not enough to support myself. I said, you know what, man, screw it. I'm going to go, and if I get fired, I get fired. And I went to Norway. I tied for a second in the tournament, came back, and sure enough, I was gainfully unemployed as of January 1st, 2013. But I thought, man, I got to get this thing. I really got to get this thing to take off if I want to get, this is the time now. I gave this up. I gave up a good job with benefits and a good salary to make this happen, to go compete and to put myself against other people and travel the world and that kind of thing. And I better do this thing right. So I dove headlong into it, and I started working 5 days a week at this gym. And for the next 2 years, I was there from open to close. Even if I didn't have clients, I was there working out, talking to people, working out in other gyms. There were days where I do like 3 or 4 workouts a day, just dropping into different gyms in the area, introducing myself, just at least like showing up, lifting heavy weights, and being nice. And that was enough for people to say, oh, you're over at Santa Cruz Strength? That's cool. I'm going to come check it out. I started getting clients that way. And after 2 years, the owners had a baby, and they bought a house. And they just couldn't put the energy into this place anymore. And they started to slide downhill a little bit. And I thought, man, I worked this hard to build up a business for myself, and I'm paying the bills. I'm saving some money. You know, I'm able to go fly to see my kid whenever I want to out in New Mexico. I just bought a pickup truck. This thing's paying for my lifestyle now. I gotta see if I can make a play, and I put an offer in to buy it, and I bought it for a pretty good deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember the first day after I signed the papers, I came back in from the lawyer's office, and I sat down in the office, and I was like, holy crap, now what do I do? I have no idea what I'm you know, I've managed other people's businesses, but I've never been the guy whose name is on the door. And it was like anybody who runs their own business will tell you that there is a steep and violent and nerve-wracking and stressful learning curve if you've never done this before. And for that first year, you know, I lived in a little side office in the gym, and I parked my truck inside because I'm in a kind of a shady warehouse area where the gym is. And I just, you know, same thing. I'd go to other gyms and drop in and be like, oh, hey, I'm Clay. I run Side Crew Strike now. I just bought it off from the other owners. You know, we hosted tons of events. This year we're hosting 11 different seminars and powerlifting, strongman, arm lifting, moss wrestling competitions. And the goal this year is to get 1,000 competitors to come into the gym and compete over the course of the year. And if everything sells out the way it's supposed to, we'll just crack 1,000, which is amazing to me that we're going to have, like, our gym's not that big. It's like 3,600 square feet, and a few 100 feet of that is office too. So we're just filling them in with sticks. Membership continues to grow. And now over the last year and a half or so, I've finally been able to breathe enough that I can get some real training in for myself. And wouldn't you know it, if you take a year and a half off, you get pretty weak. So I decided I was going to give myself some more focus. Did a couple powerlifting meets to kind of tune up. Did a strongman competition last year. And then in the middle of last year, I learned to take the grip thing a lot more seriously. I've been kind of training it off and on. And I wouldn't even really call it training. I was just kind of hitting maxes every day. You know, I'll do a rolling thunder and see what I can lift today. Oh, I lift whatever this amount of weight. I'll try for more next time. But that's not really training. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of jerking around. And, you know, if you max out all the time, you're not going to be able to make progress, hitting heavy singles forever. So at the beginning of this year, I decided to be a lot more methodical with training. And I already had my invite for Arm Lifting Worlds from last year when I went. And just kind of put my nose to the grindstone. I kind of set up everything else in my life to where I can make training happen. I gave the coaches that work for me more classes so I don't have to work as much. But that costs me money. You know, if I'm paying somebody $20 an hour to coach a class at the gym, that's $20 an hour that I'm not making. So it's every workout I'm doing is costing me money, so I better make the most out of it. Right. I'm such a cheap ass. You know, I'm such a cheap ass that I'm like $20 an hour. I better get $40 worth of value out of this workout, and so I'm hustling trying to get all these lifts made. You know.
Yeah, that's a cool way to think about it, man. That's really cool.
I love that attitude, Clay. With the your boss giving you the ultimatum, he draws a line in the sand and you cross it. I think that's fantastic. I don't like when people do that either. You know, you're not going to get the answer you want when you try that with me either. I just think that's amazing. So good for you. I'd never heard that story when we did our previous conversation. It was just a couple months back we had you on, and that's an awesome story. It sounds like quite the path to get to where you've gotten. So that's amazing.
It's crazy, man. Everything kind of lines up. I like to think that, like, the harder you know, this is a phrase that the harder you work, the luckier you get, or the luckier you look. And it's just been sun up to sundown, answering emails, you know, like I said, dropping into all these gyms. I was working at a CrossFit gym part-time, and when I took over this place, maybe a third of those members came over to work with me, and that helped a lot. We started with, I think I had 57 members when I took over the gym 3 years ago, and now we just hit 110. And I've got, nice. We had one personal trainer working here, and now we have 8. Plus, like, a dedicated rowing coach and all these competitions and things. It's a lot more to manage, and then trying to squeeze in, oh, yeah, I just had a baby 10 months ago, too. So that's my schedule that I have to account for.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, too, buddy.
Thanks. I was going to say a little one, but she's not little anymore, is she?
No, she just turned 8 in April, actually.
Wow.
Yep.
It's flying by.
Yeah, man.
I got a 15-year-old, and I got this 9-month-old. I forgot 100% what it's like to have a baby. I'm so stupid. if you got a 15-year-old, don't have another baby after that. You're done. Just enjoy the 15-year-old.
Yeah,
I love this. I love this new one. I love this new baby,
yeah.
but it's like starting this off all over again.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep, I was recently at someone's house that had basically two babies under a year old, and I was like, wow, I forgot how torturous it was. So, I mean, I didn't sleep from like 2010 to 2012, so that's one of the hardest parts of my life. And if anyone wants to go back and hear the other episode that we had with Clay, it's when we talked about California's Strongest Hands in episode 40, so you can go back and find out more about Clay, hear more about his story, and that awesome contest that he ran. So Clay, let's talk about the World Arm Lifting Championship. First off, where was that, and how do you get involved in that? Tell us that story.
The Arm Lifting Championships were held in St. Petersburg, Russia. This is the third year they've had them in St. Petersburg, I think. I want to say that the APL has been around for around 7 years now, but they hadn't formally kind of coalesced all the nations together and had one kind of large championship until 3 years ago. I got involved. I mean, if you hang out with Ode Haugen enough, the Vice Grip Viking, you end up meeting some really interesting people. And I lived with them for about a year and trained strongman and grip stuff, of course. And I go to the Los Angeles Fit Expo and do the Vice Grip Viking Challenge every year, or I'll MC the strongman contest or something. And last year I did the contest on not a lot of training, just kind of bopping around and trying maxes and wasting my time. And after the event, I talked to Ricardo Magni, and he said that he had qualified, or he got an invitation from Dimitri, who was one of the head guys at the APL, flew over to Russia. And I talked to Randy Strawson and said, Randy, what do I have to do to qualify to go to this thing? I don't have any, I don't know anything about Russia. I don't speak any Russian, but I'd like to go try to compete and see where I stand. I thought it would give me a little more focus, too, on my own training. It totally did. He put me in touch with Dimitri. Dimitri was like, oh, yeah, Clay, I read about, he used to read the grip board, and he's seen some things on YouTube and stuff. So I got an invitation to go. And last year I finished with, I think it was 2 silvers and 1 bronze medal, or 1 silver and 2 bronze, I forget, at 6 events. So that was kind of neat. And the travel and everything else was an interesting experience, not speaking the language, not knowing how to order food. And if you mean Jedd's seen me in person, I'm not a dainty flower. I'm a pretty husky fella. So it's important to be able to order some food when you go somewhere,
Yeah.
And then this year, I got because I competed last year, Dimitri says, well, you're already kind of pre-qualified to come again next year, meaning 2018. And after the Los Angeles Fit Expo, the Vice Grip Viking Challenge, I just threw myself into training 100%. I was doing 2 lifts a day, twice a day, 4 days a week, hitting 3-rep maxes and 5-rep maxes, and treating it kind of like a West Side Conjugate method, where I'd be doing block pulls with the hub, or rolling thunder against bands, or timed holds with the Excalibur, or kind of things like that, and trying different stimulus to make my grip a little bit stronger. And then at the end, kind of taking away the periphery, the accessory stuff, and getting more specific with the training, like working on axle deadlifts from the floor instead of the blocks, and doing rolling thunder with what I would assume to be a judge's down command, having to hold at the top and locked out and everything else. And that really paid off, man, taking just all this density of intensity, I called it in the beginning, and then peaking it towards the end where I was hitting heavy doubles and singles, and not trying to, it was from January 4th to January 4th to May 2nd, I didn't miss a single rep in training, and I was really proud of that, because that means everything was within what I could do, and it was the hardest I could do on that day. And that was really important to me, because that meant I wasn't going to push too far into fatigue or risk injury, or when you start playing with the hub, for example, if you get to a max weight and it pops out of your fingertips, well, your fingertips are numb or maybe even cut up for the day, so you're done. And I got 3 other events to work on every day, 4 days a week. So I got to do the most I can do on that day, and then try to save it for the next workout.
That's real nice that you take the time to map all that out. That's something I've never had the patience to do. So I got to hand that to you. And I also want to say that it was really cool watching you document all that, because I knew that, the way Instagram works, nothing comes like when it's supposed to. So I knew that if I checked Instagram at any time, I would probably see another video from you. So it made it real, it made it cool, to be able to follow what you were doing. And, AM workout done, PM workout done. I watched, I think, every video that you put out over that time period. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Even when you were away from grip, I always have kept my eye on you, see what you were doing. I remember the one time where you were going to do an MMA-style fight several years ago. And I remember I reached out to you at that time to wish you luck or something like that. I don't know what it was, but always been intrigued with everything that you did, because everything that you did, you seemed to do real well. So
I remember that message you sent me, about the mixed martial arts fight. I was training jiu-jitsu for a while, and I remember the text you sent me for the message. And you said, Clay, I heard you have a fight coming up. Just so you know, I got $100 on the other guy. I think that's what you told me.
Hey, you know what? I still reached out, brother. I still reached out. It was crickets from everybody else, and at least I hit you up. That's funny. Yeah, that's funny, man. That's great. That's great.
I wish I could take credit for the way everything kind of mapped out leading up to the contest. But what I did is I created this Excel spreadsheet, and I just made a list of all the events, the Excalibur, the Hub, Rolling Thunder, the Silver Bullet Hold. I made a list of those, and I made a list of all the sets and reps that I thought were valuable, like 5-rep maxes, drop sets, timed holds, against bands, off a block. I put all of them in the second list. And then I just created a random formula in Excel to populate my workout for the week. And so I would bring up my sheet, and it would say, today you're doing Rolling Thunder to a 3-rep max. And then after that, you're doing Silver Bullet for 20-second holds with whatever gripper you can do. And it would just kind of randomize these workouts for me. That way I didn't have to think so much about, should I do Hub today? My fingers are kind of sore. I did it on Tuesday, and today's Thursday. I didn't want to get in my head. I just wanted to open up the spreadsheet as if somebody else had written it and just focus on that. And then the last month, I stopped following that, and I just did the specific events in a standard kind of powerlifting peak, hitting 5-rep maxes, 3-rep maxes, heavy singles, and then openers. And that seemed to work just fine.
Cool, man. It sounds like it worked pretty good, dude. Pretty darn good. So what else? Anything else to talk about with the training before we get into the actual contest, or what do you think?
No, the training was, I had to put time on my calendar as if it wasn't a client coming in, or else I find myself doing things around the gym otherwise. Because if I'm here in the gym 12 hours a day, this bench is out of place, these dumbbells are dusty, I got to refill the soap dispenser, and I'm not working out.
Right.
So I think, I took a cue from Ricardo, and I just worked out hella early in the morning and then a little bit in the mid-afternoon. And that guy is great at making time for his workouts, and so I told myself if I want the same kind of progress he's making and his other guys in the world are making, I got to set aside time for myself. And whatever that means, if that's half an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, whatever it is, it's got to be a priority enough to work hard at it. Otherwise, I'm just wasting my time. And again, I'm a cheap ass, so this ticket to Russia is not cheap either. I got to make the most out of this experience.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I hear you. Now, who else went with you, Clay? Talk about that for a minute.
The only other American that went with me this year was Dali Chung. He's also here from Santa Cruz. We work out together on Thursdays, and he competed in the Vice Grip Biking Challenge at the LA Fit Expo. The way it works out with the qualifying for APL Worlds is that there are, as of last year, there were certain contests around the world that you had to compete in order to be eligible to qualify for Worlds. And the only one in the U.S. was Ode's show down in L.A. So of those, 15, 20 people who did that contest, there aren't that many that have the resources, the time off, and the desire to fly across the world and do this thing. And Ali is super easygoing and very passionate about grip, and just really easy to talk to and fun to train with, and really new to the competitive grip scene. I think the LA Fit Expo was his first grip contest, and then he did California's Strongest Hands the next month with us. And so while he'd been training his grip off and on for about 5 years, he didn't really have any structure or any focus towards the competitive side of it until he got involved with the grip stuff earlier this year. We were supposed to have Fred Espinosa from a little bit further up north in California to come with us, and he had some family thing come up at the last minute, so we had to stay home. And everybody else I reached out to said, oh, I'd love to go, but they either didn't think they were strong enough to compete or that they had the resources to make that trip out there. I'll tell you what, though, this next year, I'm trying to get the whole American Dream Team together. So if you listen to This Week in Grip and you want to go to Russia next year, hit me up. I'm trying to put together remember the Dream Team from the U.S. Olympics? The Dream Team from like 92, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan. I need you, Jedd Johnson. I need you. I need Gil Goodman. I need Andrew Dernier. I need, me. I need all these badasses to come out, Amy Waddles to come out. I want to arrive. I want matching tracksuits. I want to have to check the gold medals in the leathers because there's so many of them on the ride home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
dude.
Let's talk offline about it.
Well, listen, you had me at matching tracksuits, so.
I didn't even talk about the tearaway pants yet, man. This is the real deal.
I don't wear pants unless they're tearaways. My cargo shorts that I have on right now are tearaways. My underwear are tearaways, bro.
Well, that's
it's either. I prefer snaps though. I don't like Velcro. I don't like it. It irritates my skin. So, now the Fred that you brought up, is that MedVed Fred that I see on Instagram? Okay, I figured, but I wanted to check. Okay, cool. So, let's see. So set the landscape for us of the competition. I know it was 2 days, but I didn't actually see what the order of the events was. So can you lay that all out for us so we can visualize it?
Yeah, sure. So it's a 2-day competition, Saturday and Sunday. And they had, I think, 117 athletes from 17 countries or something. So there's a lot of people to manage, and getting everybody to go at the right time was a challenge. So what they did is they have, the divisions that are competing and the events they're competing in, they have them start times. And what that means is at 9 o'clock, the women in the 80-kilo class are doing the silver bullet. At 9:20, the men in the 60-kilo class doing silver bullet. At 9:40, the next class goes, 9:50, whatever it is. So you know what time you have to kind of be back there. And they had 3 events per day. The first day had the Factors of Crush silver bullet hold for max time, and you could choose whether you wanted to do the 3 or the 4 or both of those if you wanted to, which was crazy. And then the second one was.
So hold on. So you could do both? All right. Well, I want to talk about that. When we get to the event-specific talk, I want you to hone in on that, please. Go ahead with the order.
So it was the silver bullet, and then they had the hub lift, and then the rolling thunder were on the first day. And then the second day was the Pollen's axle deadlift for max weight, the Excalibur, and the Saxon bar for max weight as well.
Very good. Very good. All right, sweet. So what else do we need to know as far as the layout of the competition? Is there anything else we must know in order for everything to make sense, or do we have enough to go on?
Well, it's, in a competition this big, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. You have to be there at a certain time, but then you may be 20 minutes delayed in getting started. So the warm-ups are a little bit, iffy. And there was a little warm-up room behind the stage that had, it had some, it's all kilo plates, of course, because we're not in America anymore. They didn't have an axle for us to warm up with in the back room for the axle event, so we had to use a barbell and just do double overhand deadlifts. It's like a feeding frenzy. They put, 40 guys in a room, and they give them one Excalibur and a loading pin, and they're like, all right, see you in 15 minutes. Be ready. Also give us your first attempt. So you kind of get in there, and guys are in there. They're going to max effort. They're failing on these things, and they're cutting up their calluses. One guy tweaked his lower back doing a warm-up that was just a little bit too heavy. just all kinds of, you got to know how to warm up and how to compete if you're gonna compete, and that's really important to do. It's a different skill set altogether.
Yeah, that goes back to what I talked about in episode 52. At the end of the show, I talked about just getting the experience of competing. So if anybody didn't listen to that, go back and listen to that, because it goes right along with what Clay just said, having that experience of the competition. All right, go ahead, Clay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the first event was a silver bullet hold, and as I mentioned before, you have the opportunity to do the number 3 or the number 4 or both. And so when I first saw the roster, they had me on there for doing both, and I said, no, I don't want to do the 3 and the 4. I'll be completely cooked for the whole rest of the weekend. There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
So they took me off the list for the 3. I went to the 4. But there were a lot of guys. I'd say other than myself and 2 other guys, the other dozen that tried the number 4 had done the number 3 for max time just right before that, which I didn't think was a very good strategy, and it didn't pay off for them.
So they even did the rounds of the number 3 first before the number 4?
Yeah, they started with the women's class doing the number 1, and then they had all the in some of these events they do them by weight class, but in a few of them they're doing by absolute, meaning all weight classes together. And in this case they just had a list of everyone who was signed up for the number 3, and they go down the list and you do your best time. And then they do that with the number 4 too.
I see. Okay, so it was. So let me ask you this, Clay. You said you didn't want to bother with the 3, you didn't want to wipe yourself out, so you just wanted to hit the number 4. So I have 2 questions. What would have happened if you would have failed on the number 4 to get a legal hold?
That's, I thought about that. As especially as it gets closer, I've been kind of stymied by some brand new number 4s out of the package over the last couple of years. Just either it was nerves or, a couple times I just didn't train for it, and I thought that the existing grip I had was good enough to hold it, and it definitely wasn't. But I have been practicing pretty heavily with my number 4 at home, and I have one that's like some off-brand. It's a little bit heavier still, and practicing the set. I've practiced the set, I'd say out of every week, out of every 8 workouts every week, I was practicing the set on the number 4 for 3 to 4 of those workouts. And I just practice the set, get it locked into place, snap it on the silver bullet, hold it for a few seconds and let it go, and then get myself fatigued and then keep trying until I just couldn't get a set anymore, which maybe would take 8 or 10 rounds of these 5 or 10 second holds to get the number 4 to be too much. So I felt like I had a pretty good shot at getting it done. But then at the last minute,
yeah, I like Clay. I wouldn't doubt you one bit that you'd be able to get it, but I just didn't know if, what if they handed you the most beastly number 4 in history, and you wouldn't have gotten it locked in? Would you have then been forced to do a 0, or would you be able to drop down and try a 3.5 or 3? Because that's what we did in Philly, I know, and I think maybe I've seen that out in California as well in some of the contests. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, if you call your shot on a number 4, you don't get it. That's it. You get a 0.
Wow. Ooh. I see.
It's rough.
Yeah. Was it a number 4 out of the package, or was it just someone's number 4?
Yeah, brand new number 4. They brought Randy Strawson up on there to open it and to inspect it and make sure it was indeed his gripper, his number 4. And then they gave it right to us. I think I was maybe the 3rd or the 4th person to hold that one. Last year they did that too. They took a new one out of the package, and I don't know if it was just nerves or whatever it was, but I went to go set that thing, and the handles didn't want to move as if they were welded open. I thought, oh man, this is going to be hard, and I couldn't get it quite set. And this year, since I've been practicing the set so much, it smashed down almost all the way shut. And I stretched, let it open a little bit, stretched my skin on it a little bit, and I just found a good bite on the bullet.
Sure, yeah. That's what the one in Philly felt like. It felt like easily the hardest 4 that I ever tried in my life. And I've had some 4s that were up in the close to 230 rating. So, I mean, I don't know what was up that 4, and it certainly could have been an adrenaline thing or something where I just wasn't on that day. But it felt like the hardest 4 I ever squeezed in my life, and I was not worried about it at all from my training. So, all right, so that's interesting. That was, that makes you choose wisely in the contest when you don't have any secondary option. So, and I know it paid off for you, right? You had a very impressive hold.
Yeah, thanks. I had it was 19.44 seconds on the number 4, which was a new APL world record. I think Jesse Pignon from Finland held it for 19.12, which I think is also my best effort on a brand new number 4. I've been doing my number 4 at home for between like 20 and like 28 seconds. But that's, I mean, it's you know how to hold your gripper. You're used to the spread. You know, it's your chalk, it's your time zone, it's everything else.
Sure.
So I was really happy with that. And honestly, I was surprised it popped out. I thought I had a good lock on it, and as soon as they said I was 15 seconds in, or whatever 15 is in Russian, I thought, man, I'm going to hold this thing for a damn minute. There's no way it's going to pop out. I'm not even shaking yet. And then all of a sudden it just kind of popped out. But it is what it is. It's not like, you know, with the number 3, you hold it until your fingers are burning and your forearms are sizzling and you smell bacon coming from somewhere. And then it pries your hands open and your hands are white with pain and sadness. And with the number 4, it's just kind of like, it's just too strong and it falls out and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So, Clay, did that register as a new Ironman world record as well?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Well, congratulations. I wasn't sure if that was official or not. So, very good. Very good. All right, great. What else from the Silver Bullet?
After the Silver Bullet, we had the hub lift, and that was kind of a mess compared to the other events because they were very particular in how you had to hold the hub. We know from the Ironman rules that the main rules are all the fingers have to start on the hub, you know, in contact with the flange. And if they slide during the lift, that's okay, but they have to start in contact with the flange on the hub. The other big rule is that you can't do like the doorknob grip over the hub. Your hand has to be kind of straight down on it. But they were being a lot more particular with the way the hub's supposed to be held. And I don't know. I don't want to say that Randy got kind of railroaded or bullied into letting this happen, but I think they explained it to him in a way that was different than how they were enforcing it to us. I asked Randy about the rules. He says, no, fingers have to be on the flange, and you can't hold it like the doorknob, and that's it. Everything else is fine. But they wanted us to be completely straight down on the hub, like you've seen the dub hub, that shallow hub. I mean, that's how they want you to hold it. Fingers have to be on the flange, all 5 fingers. Pinky has to be straight. Thumb has to be straight. It's like it's just an impractical way, you know. If you have hands bigger than 7.5 inches, there's no way you can squeeze all that down without bending your fingers. And the first knuckle of my fingers hyperextends, and that's kind of where I get a lot of my hub lifting from, being able to press through that hyperextended knuckle. But they wanted to see straight, and so I somehow made my first lift at like 32.5 kilos, which I forget what it is in pounds, maybe around 70, 73, 75 pounds. Which I've done that a bunch of times in training, so it didn't feel that bad. And then I went up to 35 kilos next. And when I'm getting set up for the hub, the head judge, he waves me off and he stops me, and you know, he has me hold the hub, and then he comes over and he puts my fingers on the hub exactly where he wants them. He like physically moves my fingers on the hub to get them to show me where he wants it, which is so distracting. There's absolutely no way I could lift 20 kilos with somebody touching with my fingers on the hub. And so I put the hub down and step back. The same thing happened to Ricardo last year. They messed with his fingers and he wasn't able to make a lift that he's done 100 times in training. So I gave it one good shot with the style they wanted me to use, and it came up a little bit and it popped out, and I just kind of waved it off. I didn't try any more attempts during that minute, or I didn't even do a third attempt. I just kind of like cut my losses. I did good enough for 4th place in the event. Everybody got kind of hosed on that one. I was looking at the computer sheet of everyone's attempts, and you know, if they make it, it's a green little square in the cell where their name is. If they miss it, it's a red square. And that first lift, almost everybody got their lift. So all these little green squares where the good lift was. And the second attempt, I'd say 2/3 of the people got reds. And then the third attempt, all reds. Not one person made the third attempt.
Wow.
So very, very strict. And it's going to change the way that I train the hub, too. Or next year I might just skip it because I don't want to deal with the stress of, well, is my pinky bent enough? And, I'm not there to get manhandled, get my hands handled.
Yep. I'm with you. I hear you. That would be very, very frustrating. I would probably have been very upset. So I commend you for just kind of walking it off.
I've never heard of that. Somebody positioning your hand on the implement before. That's crazy. I couldn't even.
Can you imagine? No, there's no way. Any sport, any strength sport, the judge is not there, like making sure that the bar or the weight is in the right spot. Like you try to lift a blob and someone says, no, you got to have your index finger a centimeter this way. Well, there's no way you can do it. One, because it's not the way you lift it, and two, because them touching your hand totally throws off your whole, your mojo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for sure. I probably wouldn't have even been able to get an attempt, Clay, because I almost can't put my pinky in the flange when I take an attempt. Like that hyperextension that you're talking about on that distal joint, I can't. Yeah. I don't do that. My fingers don't do that. So because of that, when I put my first three fingers on, my pinky only barely grazes the flange, and the instant I start squeezing, that pinky's gone. There's nowhere near. So I don't think I would have been able to get a legal attempt with 10 pounds.
Right. And, the whole kind of mood of the contest changed a little bit. There was a guy there, I can't remember his name. He was reputed to have cheated on the hub before. He's kind of short and he has a big belly. And so what he would do is squat down super low and brace the hub against his belly. And then lift it, and then kind of hold it for a split second until he got the down command. And so he tried that, and he got called off on it, and they just said no lift, and then he couldn't break it off the ground. He's the guy that beat me last year in the hub, so I'm glad to see he got a little bit of karma for that. But then, Harry Talonen from Finland is out there trying to do his attempt, and this dude is like 5 feet away from Harry, screaming at him, kind of calling him a cheater, telling the judge to check his fingers, and just running his mouth the whole time. And everybody's pissed. The whole nation of Finland is pissed at this guy right now, and America is not far behind. And they finally pull the guy away from the platform and say, bro, chill out. Go be pissed off somewhere else. And the whole rest of the day he's just running his mouth about how Harry's trying to cheat on the hub. This is Harry's first super big contest, and the dude's been banged up a little bit, and he's feeling strong, and he's a little bit unsure about this world stage. And they got this guy 5 feet away from him running his mouth the whole time. It was a little bit nerve-wracking and just put a weird vibe on the contest for the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah, that really sucks because Harry's a good dude. I've interacted with him for years and years, so that really does suck.
Then we did the Rolling Thunder next, and then things were kind of back to normal. I mean, we had our start times. I want to say the Silver Bullet, and we did at 10:30 in the morning. And then I had to come back for the hub at 6:40 p.m. And then at 8:30 p.m. we did the Rolling Thunder. So it was quite a long time between the events. I was there till about 10 p.m. the first night. So after the Captain's of Crush, I went back to the hotel, got a shower, got a bite to eat, took a little nap, did a little bit of work, just kind of bopped around the hotel, and then walked back to the gym. I didn't want to sit there all day long watching everybody else lift. It gets kind of boring after a while.
Yeah, no doubt. I've heard about those types of contests. I was kind of prepared for that going into the Philly contest because I didn't know if that's how it was going to be. Luckily, it wasn't anything like that.
Yeah. And then the Rolling Thunder was good. I mean, I hit 100 kilos in training the week before, and then I hit 100 at the contest in Russia. So that's an all-time PR for me on this new handle. It's a nice, for me, that feels like a nice milestone. The first time you bench 225 or you bench 315, you're like, 3 plates, I'm a man today, that kind of thing. So the 100 kilos felt really good.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Awesome. That's a great lift.
Then day 2, we started, I think I didn't have to be there until 3 p.m. on day 2. So just slept in a little bit and got some food, a little more work. Went to go watch Dolly because he's in the master class too. He's in the super heavy with me and in the 40-plus master class. So I went to watch him lift for a little bit and then wait till our turn. And on the axle, one of the guys in the master class was also in the super heavies, pulled 190 kilos, and he was leading the super heavies. It's Evgeny, I forget his last name. He's from Yakutsk. He's a big-name Moss wrestler as well. And I was really impressed. I mean, he just got that 190. And I thought, oh, man, it just popped out of his hands on the way down, so they gave him to him anyways. And my PR in the gym was 410 pounds. I think that's like 187 in kilos. And I tried 190 in training and couldn't get it. So I thought I have to like hit a pretty big PR to have a shot at beating him. And on my second attempt, I think I pulled 185 for good enough for a silver medal. And on my third attempt, I went to 192.5 to try to beat him. I just lost it right at the top of the lift, and I came off the ground. You know, when you pull a hub or you pull the inch dumbbell or even an axle, and it comes off the ground, you're like, oh yeah, I got this thing. It ain't moving at all. I can feel every molecule of chalk dust and every fingerprint in my DNA pressing onto this axle. And I got right to the top, and it just topped out as if it was, kicked out by someone behind me. So I let a little bit of emotion out and jumped around and smiled and politely swore, and then kind of walked off. But it would have been nice to get that lockout on 192.5.
Sure.
And the Excalibur is one that I'm a little bit lacking in, and it's, I've been hitting PRs in it. I think in January when I tested my baseline max, I was I think 90 kilos on it. And then the week before Worlds, I hit 120 for a single, so I went up like 30 kilos on the Excalibur over the course of like 4 months, which is
now, Clay, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you, buddy. Can you just describe what Excalibur is in case there's people listening that haven't heard of that, because that's kind of a new implement. So
sure.
Just tell us about that.
The Excalibur is very similar to what the Fat Bastard Jedd looks like, which is like a 2-inch, 50-millimeter pipe, about 8 inches long, and it has a flange on the loading pin side that you can kind of butt your hand up against. So it looks kind of like the hilt of a sword if the Excalibur sword is stuck in the stone, and you have to grab it by putting the index finger side down against the flange, and it's like a vertical bar lift, basically.
Cool. Very cool. All right, thanks for that, Clay. Go ahead, buddy.
Sure. And I think as I said, my PRA training was 120 leading up to Worlds, and I hit 115 at the contest. And by that time, I just had some ongoing, pulley issues in my index finger that were flared up after the Rolling Thunder, and it wouldn't let me hold any more than the 115. I was pretty happy being at 115. And then these guys came out. I forget I can't pronounce anybody's name, but 2 guys hit 137.5 kilos on the Excalibur, which beat the world record by 7.5 kilos. And then one of those guys just barely got 140 kilos. The lift at 140 was a little bit sketchy. I think he just lifted as high as he could and held it for a split second and made some really fierce eye contact with the judge who gave him the down command. But it counts as a world record. I mean, the judge says it's good, and so it's a good lift. So I ended up buying one of the Excaliburs from that Bear Grip company that sells them, the same ones that they use in the contest, with the hope that I can get a few more kilos out of it. Man, I don't know how these guys are doing 130, 140 kilos in this thing. It's incredible.
So what is that? 130 kilos is what, 270 or 280?
286.
286. Whew, wow. Ugh. Well,
so I went from 198 in pounds to 264 over the course of like 5 months. But then the winning guy pulled another 44 pounds more than me. So I was like, dang, I got a lot of work to do. I'm, pretty competitive. I took gold in the Silver Bullet, gold in the Rolling Thunder, silver in the Axle, silver in the Saxon Bar. But then the Excalibur just blew me out of the water. I think I finished 5th or 6th in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And the last event of the day was the Saxon Bar, which is that 3-inch wide by 4-inch wide steel tubing with the loading bars in the end. And most of the Saxon Bars I've tried here in the U.S. have kind of rounded edges on the tubing, so they don't eat up your hand as much. But the Bear Grip one, I think it's made out of different type of steel, or it's like plate steel that's been put in a brake press and folded over and welded, because it has a pretty sharp 90-degree angle on it, which is great for lifting, but hard for the skin on the corner of your thumbs.
Sure.
And I think in training I got up to 100 kilos on my Saxon bar, around 220 in pounds, and hit 107.5 kilos, or about 237 pounds, in the contest, and tied with Harry Talonen for first place, but he beat me on body weight. And so like it's nice to lose to your friend a little bit, but it's still, that silver medal would be a little cooler if it was gold. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Yeah. And then after that, man, we finished all the awards and everything by 9 or 10 o'clock on Sunday night, and came home, and the Finnish guys wanted to go out and drink, because they're really good at lifting weights and drinking beer in Finland, in case you didn't know. And so we go to the hotel bar. Every time I go to the hotel bar, by the way, no matter what time of the day, I see 2 to 3 Finns in there ordering beer at the bar. So by Sunday night, they have, I'm not kidding, there is no more beer in the whole Crown Plaza bar because of the Finnish team.
Wow.
There is not they only had some like darker double bock ales, and I like that, so I had a couple of those. But then by 10 o'clock, they had finished all the beer. No more kegs, no more bottles, no Budweiser, no Stella, nothing. And so they're like, well, we still want to party. So they go to, apparently at the KFC in St. Petersburg near the hotel, you can get beer for like €1. So they all, 15 of them, head down to the KFC to buy some €1 beer. And God knows what happened to them after that. I don't know if they ever got home, if they got arrested, if they're still there drinking to this day. I didn't see anybody on the plane, but I know that I didn't want any part of that, because my flight left at 5:45 the next morning, and I had to be pretty clear-headed to make it through customs and everything else.
Sure. Wow. That's crazy. I've never heard of anything like that, a hotel running out of beer.
I know.
Wow.
I've heard of a KFC selling beer.
Yeah, KFC go get your emergency beer. That's unheard of too.
Yeah. At least around here we don't see that. I don't.
No way.
So that's funny, thinking back to the movie Beer Fest from a long time ago, I don't even remember a Finnish drinking team. So they kind of dropped the ball on that one. If they ever have a repeat, they might want to consider that.
It might not have been a very good movie, because the Finns would have come in and just smashed everybody and then left sober.
Wow.
Well, I have a question, and then I'll turn it over to Alan Clay. What is it? Maybe what is it about Stella? Because everywhere I go, even to Dubai, they have Stella. They don't have anything else to drink for beer, but they have Stella. Is that like just a really popular worldwide brand, or is it really that good? Because I didn't think it was that great.
I don't think it's that good. Everyone I know who drinks Stella only drinks it because it's what they have. I don't know anybody who prefers Stella. Maybe some of the listeners can chime in, and say that they like it. But I think it's just like, I don't know, maybe more of a status symbol that they have this really terrible tasting beer in a nice glass. It's I paid $9 for this beer. Look how cool I am, kind of thing.
Right. That's
I don't know.
Yeah. I literally never heard of anyone ask for a Stella. That's like, well, you don't have this, you don't have that. No, we have Stella. Okay. That's
like
how they end up ordering it.
Like when you go get a bite to eat, you're like, can I get a Coke? And they say, do you have Pepsi? You're like, I guess. You have Stella? Yeah, I have Stella.
Yep. That's how it is.
Stella's like the Pepsi of beers. It'll get you there, but nobody wants that.
No. Even if they bring it with a matching branded glass that looks like a giant martini glass or something, it's still not cool to drink it, in my opinion.
No.
I mean, it might be the coldest beer in history, but it's still not cool to drink. Alan, I know you had a couple questions for Clay, dude, and I pretty much dominated the whole call, so why don't you jump in there, tough guy?
I did. So I was really curious. Now I know you've competed over there a couple times, but I wanted to hear a bit about the language barrier and how that affects when you compete. In my mind, that would make things, kind of miserable. You were talking about when you were doing the silver bullet hold, for an example. and he got to 15 seconds in Russia. You know, how does that play into your tactics and your performance?
That's a great question, and it's something that I didn't have any kind of bearing on until last year when I went. I didn't know whether they were going to, for example, with the silver bullet, kind of vocalize when you were going to hit 5-second increments or 10-second increments, or were they going to talk to you at all? And so I was, a few of the competitors before me, I had my phone out using the stopwatch, and I was checking to see at what intervals they were saying something. And I knew it was about 5 seconds because he would say, you know, whatever, 5, 10, 15. And I could check my timer at the time and see that he was doing that. For things like getting around town and ordering food and all that, I got the Rosetta Stone language series. Didn't learn hardly anything from it because I didn't use it. But the Google Translate is your friend, and relying on people in Russia who can speak a little bit of English. You know, to go to the museum, you can buy the tickets online, and you can use Uber from your phone in Russia to have someone pick you up. There's usually no conversation in an Uber cab on the way to the museum. You can at least order the car, buy the ticket, check in, walk around, and you can get pretty far without having to stumble through conversation. As far as the competition goes, we were fortunate that the announcer knew just enough English to where he could say, you know, he'd be speaking in Russian most of the time, and then he'd say, 185 kilograms, Edgin Clay to the platform, USA, you know, and then I knew it was my turn to go.
Yeah.
So in Russia, I'm known as Edgin Clay, I guess, because they do surnames first and then given names afterwards.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool.
I was curious about that. So, you know, you were talking about your training and doing things twice a day. That's got to help with the competition layout where you're doing one event and then nearly 6 hours later, you know, you're hitting another event. Is that your theory with the twice a day training, or is that just how things kind of worked out for you?
I was trying to get as much as I could done in a short period of time because, like I said, if I'm not working, I'm paying somebody else to work, and if I don't have personal clients, I'm not making money. So I'm trying to get a couple events in the morning and a couple in the afternoon, and just trying to, like, not necessarily overtrain my hands, but to build the conditioning up to where I can be ready for these long days like you're talking about. And then those last 2 weeks before the contest, I was only doing the specific contest events at the times they were going to be done in Russia. So at 11:30 a.m., I was doing my silver bullet training, and then at 6 p.m., I was doing my hub training, and at 7:30 p.m., I was doing my roll and thunder training. So I kind of had to be a little more creative with my schedule at work. But I'm lucky I work in a gym, so I can do that. You can't, like, leave your office to go downstairs to the basement and do your gripper training or something.
Sure. Okay, so you actually knew in advance what time those events were going to be held then?
Yeah, they gave us a start list about 2 weeks or a week before the event, and they were going to have the same order of events as the year before. So I just pulled up last year's start times, and I just guessed they were going to be around the same, and they were about the same start times. I was thinking maybe I'll push my training back a few hours so it kind of mimics the 11-hour time difference in Russia. Then I'd be training rolling thunder at midnight, and that's stupid. I'm not doing that. So I'm just trying to, like, get used to the time zone and just make it happen best I could. And I think it paid off doing those events with that much time in between. I had been seeing, for the last 6 weeks before the contest, I had been seeing this specialist for massage therapy who's worked with NFL combine athletes, specifically with quarterbacks on a technique called hand spreading. And so she was doing this really painful tissue massage and stretching techniques to make my hand, like, make the reach of my hand a little wider, the spread of my hand. So I would go in and she would do all these really painful things. I'd have to manage my training around that too, because once she scraped on my hands with the grasping tools and everything else, it felt great, but then there was no power there anymore. So I had to get my training in first and then go see her, which was like a weekly $100 check I had to write, and then do my training in the afternoon to make all that happen. And it worked. And I think I have a picture on my Instagram of the tracing of my hand on the first day, 3 sessions in, and then 5 sessions in, and you can see how the spread of my pinky and my fingers have expanded probably 2 inches over the course of the last, 6 weeks doing these hand spreading techniques that she uses.
Oh my God! I mean,
it's not going to make your middle finger to wrist crease length any longer, but it does allow you to kind of curve your hand a little more around a thick bar or around the gripper to hold it a little better. It's like when you ever done like squat or deadlift training and you have maybe tight hips and can't get into the bottom of the squat. If someone helps you with that mobility issue and then you sink into the bottom of the squat really easily, you don't have any power there yet, but at least you can do it kind of comfortably. That's kind of where I was with the hands.
Clay, are you talking about what I've referred to as the 180? So are you talking about like moving you spread your hand apart and you're almost making a straight line from your thumb to your pinky? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. And did they work on your thumb to open up your thumb more as well?
Yeah, the distance between the thumb and the index finger increased. Well, they all kind of increased. The whole spread increased. But every joint, the back of the knuckles, the creases of the fingers, the palm, the tissue right where it connects at the base of the wrist to the ulnar, everything, the thenar, the big meaty pad of thumb pad, everything has to be loosened up and mobile and kind of, you have to be able to recruit that. So if your hand, if any muscle is tight, you can't call upon it to do the work. It's just going to be tight and prone to injury. And after doing this kind of grip stuff for coming up on 15 years, having never paid attention to this stuff, it was a lot of scar tissue and a lot of tightness to deal with. And I'm really thankful that she was able to break that up, because that not only sped up recovery, but that allowed me to train my hands harder for longer and stay injury-free.
This is a game changer. Does that have a specific name, that therapy that you're referring to?
I asked her about that, and she doesn't have a specific name for it. It's just kind of, she was working in Florida for a while with this coach that deals with football players and trying to get them into the combine, and it's just something that she learned from that therapist. So I don't think it has a specific name. She was just calling it structural work. I think if you go into, I don't know. I just kind of happened to come upon her. She's a member in my gym and a massage therapist. So she got me set up with, she sent me to Russia with like different Grafton tools and a plan to massage certain parts of the form in certain ways after each event, different configurations of rock tape to help with any pain, arnica gels, CBD oils, everything. That way I could make sure that my recovery was on point and be as fresh as possible. Because if you're hitting max effort lifts and you have like 6 hours between them, you should be doing a lot of recovery. You should be recovering as aggressively as you're training in between those events.
Well, that is really interesting to hear you say that. I'm the type of guy that, like when I go to lift the blob, I have to leave my index finger off of it to actually get a successful lift. And if there was somebody out there that could do something, I'm kind of leaving pounds on the table because I'm leaving a digit off. So if somebody could open my hand up and I could maybe get another, get that extra finger on there, that'd be huge. I just didn't even know that was out there. I have to look into that. I didn't know they did, small joint manipulations like that almost. I guess I thought you were kind of just limited to what you had. So that's really interesting.
It's fascinating. I never heard of it either. I thought about doing a little YouTube video of the procedure I do to kind of get things loosened up. And
do that.
Give some guidance. I think it's helpful. I did it before as like a warm-up before the silver bullet. Because, the silver bullet and the hub, they're just so painful on your fingertips and your knuckles and things. And that kind of pain can manifest itself in some inflammation. The inflammation kind of blocks the nervous system's ability to recruit those muscle fibers. And if you got, swollen knuckles, you might as well not even have a finger there. You got to keep, the hand health is, I'm not going to say more important than the hand training, but they are equally as important for sure.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
That's
awesome.
I would love to see that. If you put a video together, that's major. Like I said, I had no idea. I would love to see some tips and tricks on that, because recovery is paramount. I'm in the 40-year-old category now, and things start taking their toll after some years. You just slow down. Pain lasts longer. So that'd be huge.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I've only had it done, maybe 8 or 9 times now, and so I'm not an expert on it, and I can't explain exactly, the wheres and whys of the anatomy as to why it works, but we can at least show what I've done and what she's done with me to develop that finger spread without pain, and what a difference it's made in the ability of the hands to recover, hitting these heavy singles and stuff at the end of the contest. And if you've ever done like a powerlifting cycle where you're peaking and you're doing these heavy 5s and heavy 3s, like the weight's moving the way it's supposed to, but your body just feels like trash. And at the end of this cycle with the hand training, I felt like trash earlier on trying to accommodate all of the extra volume I was doing. But at the end, I felt fresh. I was bored as hell, waiting for the next workout to happen. No pain. So I think that was the big difference this time around. Hitting these heavy 3s and 5s and doing stuff off the boxes and the bands, that's interesting stuff to keep me kind of engaged with the training. But it really was the difference maker was how I treated my recovery. Like a 9:30 bedtime every night, have to get my sleep, have to stay away from inflammatory foods, which means beer, unfortunately, for me. The arnica, the CBD oil, the massage. I even went so far as to get my nails painted with a gel coat. I'm such a habitual fingernail picker that it'll cause my fingers to bleed, and then I can't grab as hard. So I got these hella obnoxious gel nails on, like I'm some kind of Fruit Loop. But I mean, I don't care. It worked. Everything worked.
I saw the gel coverings. I thought they were pretty sweet. So I thought they were stylish. And Clay, that's really awesome what you just shared there with the hand spreading. I remember debating whether or not a person could change structurally the layout of their hand years and years and years ago with Chris Rice, because he was convinced that it could not be done, and I thought for sure that it could be done if you did it right, and never ended up coming up with anything. I don't want to make it sound like that, but I was like, if you can do it with your hips, you can do it with anything in your body. So, shoulders, everything can be changed structurally in order to improve mobility and strength. So I thought for sure it could happen with hands too. So
yeah, totally.
I'm glad I'm glad you brought that up. That's cool. That's very cool.
Every tight joint or immobile joint is a result of one underactive muscle and one overactive muscle, which we know from hips and shoulders and things like that. If you're a trainer or a coach, or even a physical therapist, will say, oh, you're internally rotated in your shoulders, which is why your shoulders are rounded forward and your shoulders are in pain and your upper back is frozen. But in the hands and the lower arms, there's a whole lot of moving parts. There's a lot of pulleys, a lot of muscles and tendons and things that need to be kind of at like a baseline homeostatic gliding ability, or else they can't fully recruit all the nervous system energy that you're trying to put through them into these handles and these hubs and grippers and things. It's like one of the classic feats of strength is to tear a deck of cards in half with a pair of oven mitts on. It's like you're walking around with oven mitts on all the time if you have these hands that are permanently curled into a claw shape all the time. You got to loosen that up, man. That's going to help you in the long run for sure. You're not going to you're going to stave off arthritis. You're going to stave off carpal tunnel syndrome. You're going to keep those joints healthy, which means you're going to be someone like Ode Haugen, who's almost 70 years old and still kicking all of our asses.
Yeah, that's no doubt. No doubt. I don't know if you heard, but he took the heaviest weight lifted on the Country Crush at that meet in Philadelphia, and then just walked up on the stage and hit eight reps.
I love Ode, but that's a dick move right there.
That's a dick move. That's a dick move. Yep. Just makes him look bad. Wow. Well, Clay, dude, I'll tell you what, man. Great talking with you. Really appreciate you coming on with us. Alan, was there anything else you wanted to hit this guy up with?
Just one last quick thing. Do they let you take, so you got the silver bullet record on the COC4. Do you get to keep that COC4?
No, I didn't ask. They might have let me, but I didn't ask. I've already got one that I never really used except for once in a great while, just another wall hanger. They let me keep the gold medal. That's what I came for. I can get a gripper from Iron Mine.
I didn't know if it was like the I didn't know if it was like their certs when they send you the gripper for the cert, because that's on Iron Mine, at least historically it had been. They put that to you, and then you cert it and you get to keep it. I didn't know if that was how that worked or not. So
no, not this time, no.
Cool. Okay. Well, congratulations nonetheless. That is awesome. So 19.44 seconds. Oh, good for you.
It's going to get a
then
beat in the next contest. I'm surprised, Jedd. I'm surprised you didn't beat the 19 seconds at the Philly Fit Expo the week before. I was watching very intently and harassing Ricardo incessantly. I'm like, what Jedd get on the 4? What did he get on the 4? Because I know you and Jesse Pignon and now Harry, and there's other guys too that are just in that same kind of like 15 to 22 second range, and we're going to be trading that trophy back and forth for a long time, I think.
Yeah, I think so too, and I appreciate you saying that. I really don't know what happened. I really felt it was the hardest 4 I ever felt, and I was fully planning on starting that contest off with a record on the first day with the silver bullet. So, I was honestly surprised, and I just had to set it down, grab the 3.5, and get first place that way. So, but I agree. I think it's within reach by a lot of different people. And pretty much every time that contest or that event gets held, that record has a chance to be broken every single time. So I'm glad that they're doing the 4 now instead of just the number 3. Like that was one of the best things that they could do, in my opinion.
Right, I agree.
Cool.
It's boring, dude, to watch everyone hold the number 3 for a minute. It's boring to watch.
Yeah, man. Jeez.
The number 4 is like 12 seconds of someone's face exploding, and that's a lot more exciting to watch than everyone.
Yeah, my favorite is when Luke is doing the silver bullet, and then he does this stuff with like his mouth and lips, where it sounds like his lips are breaking. It sounds like there's a joint in his lips that's cracking. It's this weird sound. Geez. I don't know how he does it. It's weird. I don't think it's his teeth grinding. I literally think it's his lips, and you could hear it when he was up on stage and I was filming on the ground. You could hear it. The camera didn't pick it up, but you could literally hear that sound coming. So that's one of my favorite things.
You make that like a ringtone on your phone when he calls you, Jedd?
Dude, I don't want to hear that any more than I have to be honest with you. It kind of leaves me nauseous, but it might do the trick I could probably capture it and use it for some of the lifters that come to my gym, because they have a hard time getting out of bed sometimes. So that might be the way to go. I think they keep saying they slept through their alarm, and I'll tell you what, they'll have trouble getting to bed at night hearing that sound.
Yeah.
So, well, listen, guys, I've got an independent professional wrestling show that I've got to get to, so I need to head out. But I really do appreciate you being on the call with us today, Clay, and look forward to talking to you again after the next contest. What do you have planned for the next upcoming competition?
I am going to do deadlift only meet, powerlifting meet in about 4 weeks. And then in July, I'm going to help run another arm lifting contest up in Oakland with Ben Claridad at his weightlifting gym. I'm going to do I'll try the silver bullet as like an exhibition, but I won't do any of the other events. I'll just help it out. And then the rest of the year is pretty open for me. I'm just hosting a bunch of stuff at the gym, trying to stay healthy. I think I've dropped about 35 pounds since the first part of the year, and I want to drop another 35 pounds for my birthday in September. And then go back to the LA Fit Expo and keep lifting weights,
Cool, man. Well, I wish you the best with all that. Anything from you, Alan?
No, I just want to say thanks to Clay for coming on and explaining everything, and even going through his training leading up to it in particular. That was it's not often we get guys of this caliber willing to kind of lay out things and go through it in that detail. So I made some careful notes. I'm gonna use some of those ideas, and I look forward to if you do get around to putting out a video or any sort of information about what you've been doing with your hand mobility. I anxiously await that. So thanks a lot.
Yeah,
I really
no
appreciate
problem. Hey, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, Alan, show's yours.
All right. Well, that is it for episode 53 of This Week in Grip. It's the recap of the Arm Lifting Professional League World Championships with Clay. Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below, and we'll be back shortly with another one. We'll see you then.